Hey, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Apex to Asphalt for today, July 20th, 2026. My name is Darryl Kinsey Jr. I am your host for the evening. Today, we're going to talk about Formula One in Spa as it sets the turning point for the F1 Championship. Alex Palou is inevitable in the IndyCar series. The NHRA was out in Sonoma to start their Western swing, and NASCAR went back to the 90s at North Wilkesboro. We'll talk about all of that in just a little bit. For right now, I'm going to pay some bills real quick. Be right back. Start the show after this.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back here on Apex to Asphalt on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go ahead and get started. And we will begin with the Formula One Belgian Grand Prix that was held on Sunday morning. That race was won by Kimi Antonelli, who is now taking a stranglehold on the championship. But Lewis Hamilton is right behind him, 204 points for Kimi, 159 for Lewis Hamilton, going into really wrapping up the middle distance stretch of the season. It is a 45-point gap between the two, not insurmountable, but getting close to that two-race mark where it starts becoming a little bit tough to come back from. George Russell out in a lap one incident. It's dropped back to third, Charles Leclerc in fourth. Lewis Hamilton and Russell came together in turn three. Sorry, not in turn three, at the top of the hill at the Belgian Grand Prix and at the end of the Camel Straight. And I don't agree with the penalty, and a lot of people didn't, because the question is, what as a driver are you supposed to do there when somebody holds you that close into the corner? Lewis got a bit of oversteer, ended up getting into George Russell, sent him around. That is not a 5-second penalty. It's not like Lewis did anything wrong. He was on the inside, and it's lap one. You're not lifting. But I could go on and on about my issues with how Formula One adjudicates its rules so the cows come home. I've been on record when it comes to this show. I do not like assigning blame to accidents like we're on I-95. We're not. This is motorsport. Cars touch. It happens. He didn't do it intentionally. He was trying to hold the inside to try to get the advantage at the end of that, I was about to say rhythm section, but at the end of the chicane, and it just didn't work out. It happens. But unfortunately, Lewis gets a penalty there. Kimi Antonelli had a pretty much dominating race despite the best efforts of Charles Leclerc. The Mercedes is just really good on these high-speed circuits with that engine advantage that they have. Behind them, Lando and Oscar Piastri, 5th and 6th. The Red Bulls come home in formation as well, 7th and 8th. Pierre Gasly, great run in the Alpine for 9th. Then we have Liam Lawson rounding out the point scorers, and at the back of the field, Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll. Sorry, that is not how the results are. That was the point standings. I'm sorry. Reading the wrong screen. My bad. Let's look at the race results up here in a minute. But while we're doing that, there's one thing I have to call out. And that is, it's been 10 races. We understand everyone is upset about the 2026 rule package. It has not worked the way it was supposed to. In fact, it's probably been worse for the racing than what we had last year. I don't need to hear about it every weekend. They have the FIA has already come out and said they're making changes for next year, and they're going to keep iterating on those changes, and we're going to go for a radically different formula when this rule package ends. I do not need to come into every weekend and hear the package sucks, the package sucks, the package sucks. I know. We all know. Anyone that has had a glancing look at Formula One understands where we are right now. That the package isn't good. That there's way too much lifting and coasting. And there's not enough actual racing that was promised. We heard you. I don't need to hear it from Martin Brundle every week when we go to a European circuit. At this point, dude, take an early vacation. Because I don't really know what else to tell you. We have what we have for the rest of the year. Clearly, the changes that they made this year were not enough. They're supposed to go more aggressive next year. We'll see if that's enough. I'm not really sure, but we will find out. But I don't need to hear about it every week. It starts becoming a broken record. And it is. It's a broken record. Now, that doesn't mean I'm for the rules package. I thought it was going to be better. It wasn't. The Australian Grand Prix kind of gave us some McDonald's racing that we thought was exciting, but then the warts kind of grew as we went on for the season. And now here we are. And we will be going to Hungary next week. Oh, sorry, not next week. This week we'll be going to Hungary. This will be either the next to last race or the last race before the summer break. Actually, yes, this will be the traditional end of the first half of the season. We will then go into a summer break where it'll be a month off for a lot of the FIA series, including, of course, Formula One. And we'll see a lot of movement in the driver standing, in the order of the drivers. Possibly we'll find out whether or not Max Verstappen is going to be staying in Red Bull or will be going to other places. We'll see where, if anyone gets replaced mid-year. But there's going to be a lot of rumor and speculation going on during that time. But back to the Belgian Grand Prix. Even the 5 straight zones really couldn't save it. And reading the reaction on social media, it's just a shock that they got these rules oh so wrong. You were hearing from Max Verstappen, you were hearing from a lot of drivers beforehand that were saying that, hey, this is not going to produce the racing you guys think it's going to produce. And it absolutely came to pass. And the FIA was in there. We know more than the drivers, which, as we've learned, they really don't. And now we are stuck with this package for the rest of the year. And we've got a lot of high-speed circuits still left that are not going to be great for racing. I shudder to think what Qatar is going to look like if we get there at the end of the year. Qatar already wasn't that great. I shudder to think how it's going to look when we get there with these cars if there's no more issues in the Middle East with the current political situation. So your podium was Kimi Antonelli, Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Oscar Piastri ran out of the top 5. Your point scorers wrapped up with Isaac Hadjar, Lando Norris, Gabriel Bortolato, Arvin Lindblad, and Franco Colapinto. Looking at qualifying, though, the plight of Aston Martin, 4 seconds off the pace. Saw a tweet earlier today that said that the Aston Martin Formula One car is probably the worst Formula One car of the century to this point. There was a lot of hype about Adrian Newey getting control of this car. I don't know how much of it was him. I don't know how much of it was Aston Martin before we got here. But Newey has been unable to fix this car. They really haven't done any upgrades yet. Supposedly we'll be seeing the upgrades at Hungary. At this point, you're just trying to save face with a B-spec car this late in the year. It's going to take a lot to get up the standings. As you look at the team standings, Aston Martin is on 1 point. It's going to take a miracle to get into the top 5 where they should be. They might be able to get around Audi by the end of the year if they start scoring at least back end of the points consistently. But who knows? They could put this B-spec together and it could be even worse. And the problem that is going to be ahead of Aston Martin is if the car is worse, you can't iterate on it during the summer break because everyone is kicked out of the office. They have to shut down the factories, they have to turn off the computers, and everybody goes home for a month. That is stipulated by the FIA. So there is no way for them to fix this car, really no matter what. And their only saving grace right now is that Cadillac is a complete noob of a team. And so far it is doing what we thought they would do all year, which is be on the score sheet and collect data. That's all Cadillac has done we expected for Cadillac this year. Maybe get points near the end of the year, but to their credit, they have filled that notebook, which is what you have to do as a new team. And we will see how that team goes for the rest of the year. Hopefully, they will score those points by the end of the year. And maybe they can get close to Haas by the end of the year if some good things happen. Haas has only scored 21 points. So Cadillac has some good things happen. Maybe we get the 2 American teams together at the points to end the year. That's just wishful thinking from me, but Cadillac has a lot to work for, and really it's going to be next year to see if they can iterate on how this season has gone. So we're going to take a quick break. When we return, we're going to get into IndyCar. And man, Alex Palou, he is inevitable. What can I say? Talk about that on the other side of this break here on Apex to Asphalt on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Delicious park food and the summer breeze. Every voice in the game. Catch dirt and diamonds every single week. The California League coverage that you seek. With Larry B and Freddie B running the show. iSports Radio is the place to go. From the front
diamonds every minor league season. For the latest in the California League with Larry B and Freddie B on iSports Radio. Keep that dirt flying, and we'll see you next pitch.
And we're back here on Apex Asphalt on iSports Radio, your reg feed for all that is sports. It's time to get into IndyCar, and if you have watched this, or if you were at work and had a TV in your office or work from home today, you would know that that race got rescheduled today because of persistent and at the end heavy rains that just knocked out any chance of racing yesterday. And unfortunately for IndyCar, this was supposed to be the big show. They had the lead-in of the World Cup final between Spain and Argentina. They're going to try to use that as a massive lead-in with all that audience to come in and watch the IndyCar race, at least the start of it, and see how many people you hook after that. Now, it was a big ask of getting soccer fans to stick around for, or any sort of stick and ball sports fans to stick around for anything motorsports related, but they were going to give it the old college try. And it started with the game going late. They ended up going into double extra time. While that was going on, the persistent weather that was forecasted for the day started to move in down in Nashville. They got a lightning strike, which started the lightning hold, which a lot of outdoor events have nowadays. That transitioned into the persistent rain that by the time the broadcast ended, instead of going into the start of the race, you get rain-filled coverage because the track was absolutely soaked. And it took them a couple of hours to dry the track. So it was about 8, 9 o'clock, so about 9, 10 o'clock by the time they got the track dry. And then the last heavy band of rain came in. And that was it for their attempt to try to get the race. At that point, it didn't really matter because most of that lead-in audience had probably turned off the TV. So at that point, you're just trying to entertain your main audience that is still there and just get this race done. And it was just an absolute disaster. They end up having to run the race today at 3 o'clock. Due to the heat, it got shortened to 225 laps. And whatever audience they get from this race, it pales in comparison to what they would have had if things had gone off smoothly. And this just encapsulates the last 20 to 30 years for IndyCar, where they have tried to do things to boost their audience, and it blows up in their face. And we saw it yet again, this time with the attempted lead into Nashville. So with that race running today, I was at work. I caught the ending of it, and Alex Palou just continues to find a way to get to the front. He was not bullish on his chances of winning the race when interviewed at the start, from what I've heard. And all he does is go out there and lead a race-high 97 laps, takes the win over a resilient day by Team Penske with Joseph Newgarden, David Lucas, Scott McLaughlin finishing positions 2 through 4. And Joseph Newgarden and David Malukas were chasing him down. Malukas, after starting last, after being involved in that hellacious crash to start the weekend, comes back, leads 59 laps, finishes on the podium after finishing 25th. A great day for him. But just wasn't to be. But I'm running out of superlatives for Alex Palou, to be honest. He quite literally just is the gold standard of IndyCar racing right now. Currently, after everything shakes out, he has an 83-point lead over David Malukas an 87-point lead over Kyle Kirkwood, 104 over Christian Lundgaard. Still a lot of time to go. As you look at the schedule, we head off to Portland on August 9th. We have the Ontario Honda Dealers Indy at Markham, the first of 2 new street courses. Then we have the potential one-off in DC. Some rumblings that race may stick around. Who knows? We'll see. And then, of course, we'll have Milwaukee and Monterey to wrap up the year. But if Alex Palou gets on a late season heater and he puts that points total over 100 points to the leader, which he could easily do next race, it's going to be not a question of if he can hold on, but when is he going to win the championship. And Palou, 5 wins on the season. He's let some other folks actually get some wins this year, but he's been utterly dominant. He's won everything but in the courtroom, as I like to say. But a great day for Palou. On the other side of things, not a great day for Will Power or Alexander Rossi. They got involved in incidents. Rossi actually got run into by Scott Dixon. Dixon was able to continue. Rossi was not. And that was uncharacteristic of Scott Dixon. But for Alexander Rossi, it's just the last couple of years have not been great for him. He came in with so much promise, winning the Indy 500, winning the 100th Indy 500 in spectacular fashion. Got some wins for, at that point, Arrow Schmidt-Peterson, before it ended up becoming Arrow McLaren. And then he's gone over now to ECR, and it just hasn't worked out the way that he thought. And it's tough watching that for Alexander Rossi. He was really down on the incident when interviewed after the wreck at the Infield Care Center. And you just want to bring this season home. Well, hopefully he can pick up a win or two at the end of the season to really end the year on a high note. As he's only really had the 4 top 10s. He's led 6 laps all year. Not the greatest day for Alexander Rossi. And Will Power, we thought he was going to go in a revenge tour for Andretti. He's had its moments, but only 20th today, led 2 laps. It's been a rough go of it, and unfortunately, it's starting to make the captain look correct in letting him go, which is unfortunate. We love Will Power here. My wife, I can say that now, always finds it interesting that his parents took they saw that opportunity and they took it with the name. Power is a legend in IndyCar. He'll find himself in the Hall of Fame one day, but the end of his career, it is going the way that a lot of greats go, and Father Time is truly undefeated. Roman Grosjean for Dale Coyne Racing ends up 14th. Santino Ferrucci 13th. From 21st, for Grosjean makes up 7 spots on the day. Not a bad day for him. Unfortunately, Santino and Ferrucci did not get a lot of movement today either. And you look through the order, drivers that had opportunity. Christian Rasmussen started in 7th, ended up 22nd to cap off. Not a great day for ECR. Kyle Collette was the first car out after contact 5 laps in. And Kyle Kirkwood started on the pole, led 24 laps, but could only muster 10th on the day in what was not a great effort for the Andretti Global with Curb. I cannot pronounce that last name, but the Andretti Global with Curb team. And it's always hard when these rain delays, especially when you get heavy rain like we did on Sunday, just washes all the rubber off the track. So you got to put it back and rebuild that rubber that was run into the track as the race goes. And they had the option tire at Nashville. I wish they would do this more on ovals and run the reds. It was about a 1/10 of a second difference between the reds and the blacks when new. which 10th of a lap faster can shake up a lot of strategy. Unfortunately, without all the rubber laid down before that, I don't think we got to see the strategy as much as we would have had we run on Sunday. But I would love to see more of the strategy effort from the tires. We can just shake up the field, because these cars, of course, are so equal. We are getting a new car soon, an Indy car, and that will definitely shake up the field. But for now, these cars are so equal, it's hard to pass. And there was some good passing moments in Nashville. We saw some drivers make their way up the field, but to really open up that passing, I just wish there was more gap between the tires. But we'll be back on the road courses soon, as our next race will be in Portland for the Only Bulls GP of Portland, August 9th. Of course, you can see that race on Fox. And before we take our next break, we're going to quickly get into the NHRA Denso NHRA Sonoma Nationals presented by Power Edge. So we get into the results here. The NHRA starting their traditional Western swing. Your results in the pro categories: Top Fuel, Funny Car, and Pro Stock represented. We will go to the ladders. We will start with Top Fuel, and it says Doug Coletta picks up the win, but not to be lost in all of this, Jasmine Salinas, who I feel has been off for an eternity, as the scrappers have just been unable to find the sponsorship to run that car really at all, as she's pretty much been sidelined to either TV duty or a one-off in the now defunct IHRA Outlaw Nitro Series. But she comes in, qualified 7th in her hometown, gets all the way to the final against Doug Coletta, beats him on the tree, a 56 to a 72, but just too much Coletta Motorsports power. A 373 with a 1 beats a 381 with a 5, and it's Doug Coletta that takes home the trophy, in Sonoma. But a great effort for Jasmine Salinas, and hopefully that allows her to get more sponsorship to go forward. In Funny Car, back on top, John Force Motorsports, Jordan Vandergriff takes down Daniel Wilkerson in the final, a 65 to a 57 on the tree. 390 at 330.72 miles per hour beats a 395 at 301 miles per hour. So Jordan Vandergriff carrying the torch for John Force Motorsports picks up the win on Sunday. And finally, in Pro Stock, Erica Enders, it feels like it's been forever since I've said this, gets back to a final after qualifying 3rd, and unfortunately got left on the tree. Greg Stanfield, a 15 to a 32. That is death on the tree in Pro Stock. 655 with the 1 at 211.30 miles per hour. Beats a quicker but losing 655 with a 0 at 210.87 miles per hour. On a little baby hole shot, Greg Stanfield picks up the win in Sonoma. They will head off to the Portland area for their next race. And that will also be this weekend at the Muckleshoot Casino Resort. That's an interesting name for a casino. NHRA Northwest Nationals at Pacific Raceways at Kent, Washington. Top Fuel Funny Car and Pro Stock will be in action. No Pro Stock motorcycle this time on the Western Swing, as it's just too far to ask the Pro Stock motorcycle guys to go all the way out to, or guys and gals, out to Pacific Raceways. That'll be July 24th through July 26th as the season rolls on in NHRA. So we're going to take a break, our last break of the night. We'll come back to talk NHRA, and it's back to the 90s in North Wilkesboro. I'll explain on the other side of this break here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we're back here with the final segment on Apex Asphalt on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Darryl Kinsey Jr. here with you, Rod and Solo, this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. And you see back by the title and there at the bottom of the screen, Back to the 90s is the theme for this show, because NASCAR at North Wilkesboro had that 90s flair to it. Only 6 cars finished on the lead lap in NASCAR's first points race in North Wilkesboro in over 30 years. The last couple of years we've run there as a part of the All-Star race, but this year North Wilkesboro was a points race, which was won by Joey Logano, his first win in about a year. It's been a while since we've seen Joey at the top of the podium, but the Window World 450. He picks up the win, takes a ride with his son Hudson. The rest of the family was not there. They were sleeping, as this race was also affected by rain. A little bit of a delayed start, but the rain was out of there and we managed to get the race through. A cavalcade of Toyotas behind him with Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, Ty Gibbs, second through fourth. And a shout out to show favorite Shane Van Gisbergen. Started 8th, stayed in the top 10 all day long, led his first laps at an oval, or some of his first laps at an oval, led 49 of those to be exact, and ends up with a 5th place finish. Bubba Wallace goes from 26th to 6th. And those are all your cars in the lead lap. And there's a lot of hullabaloo about the package again. Formula One and IndyCar have that in common at this point. But the thing is, it doesn't matter what generation of car runs at North Wilkesboro. That's really just how this track runs. In 1994, North Wilkesboro, one driver finished on the lead lap. Do you want to know who that driver was? Jeff Bodine ends up picking up that win. Bodine led 334 of 400 laps that day. And it's been, I think that's the only race since, as far as Cup is concerned. I actually can say that pretty heartedly, as far as Cup is concerned, that only one driver has finished on the lead lap, of course, that being the winner. That's just how North Wilkesboro races. And we have to stop. I don't think we have to stop. We have to be more realistic about what we are expecting out of racing at North Wilkesboro, because at the end of the day, this is a track that before the revival, its most famous race was a scoring error controversy. It's a race that always put on long green flag racing where you race the track more than each other. It was not a old school Bristol where you were beating and banging, pushing people out of the way and getting into fights at the end of the race. just wasn't that type of track. And we saw that today. We saw that on Sunday night. The last caution of the day comes out when Alex Bowman inexplicably spun out Tyler Reddick after a pit stop as cars were coming in. Actually, I think I may have been wrong. Hold on. Sorry, no, the last yellow flag was actually stage 2 caution, but before that, the race really got turned on its head when the 48 gets turned, runs into the 45 of Tyler Reddick, he peaked way too early. I think we can all say that now. We have got to the summer, and everything that can go wrong for that car has gone wrong. He was leading this championship at one point by 120 points. He's 68 back now. Just incredibly bad luck for Tyler Reddick moving into the second half of the regular season. But Alex Bowman had the vertigo injury, came back, has not been very good. Just a boneheaded move that ends up trapping the rest of his teammates 2 laps down. And Kyle Larson, William Byron, and Chase Elliott are relegated to non-factors for the rest of the event. I know Chris isn't here tonight, but you've got to start wondering about his future in the sport. And with Josh Berry, who also ran into trouble from a wreck not of his own making after Christopher Bell turns him. Does Berry end up in that 48, and where does Bowman go from here? Does he stay in Cup? Does he go to Xfinity, or maybe he just goes and runs his dirt car, because we know he's had those vertigo symptoms, and that is a concussion symptom. And we know Bowman had a bad concussion last year. And you just start wondering at this point, what is going to happen to Alex Bowman? And it's really unfortunate. I really hope that he can bring it together and maybe get a couple of wins, but I don't think he's going to be staying around for Hendrick Motorsports. I just don't think he can at this point. So we move on for NASCAR. They are heading on to the Brickyard. You know, last time they ran there, the win went to Bubba Wallace. But another thing I wanted to talk about, Ryan Blaney and this pit crew. It is amazing he has 2 wins this year, or his pit road troubles. Because he has, and as I was talking with some friends during the race, he has, at this point, the Washington Nationals bullpen of pit crews. But today, the pit crew was good, and it was his own speeding issue that got him in trouble and relegated him to the back of the field when it looked like he was going to have a good finish. I think he's a good enough driver to be in contention. However, I think the pit road issues are going to be the reason he does not win the championship. I just don't think they're going to get that together. And at this point, it just feels like they're not going to Dudley do right unless they get a huge change going into the final set of races. But we'll see. There's still a lot of time for me to be proven wrong, and I have been proven wrong in this microphone before. So we're going to the Brickyard next time out. Bubba Wallace won there last time we were in action in a emotional race where a lot of Wallace fans were hoping he can go back-to-back with this crown jewel win. Bubba has had opportunities this year to win, and they have not come to pass. A lot of it's because he's beat himself on Saturday. They had a bad fast car last year, though, and if they bring that same setup this year, they might have a chance. He had an opportunity to lead some laps last week, but the car just got too tight. We'll see how things run going into the year. Tyler Reddick, though, staying with 2311, if he could pick up the win, that would be a great panacea for what has been a crappy year, to say the least, in the second half of the regular season. He needs something to get himself back going. But this could also be the opportunity for some lesser-known drivers for this season to get their names a crown jewel win and get them some momentum to try to make the playoffs or consolidate their position. First driver that comes to mind, of course, Shane Van Gisbergen. For some reason, the road course regulars, they take to Indianapolis extremely well. We know Juan Pablo Montoya had 2 opportunities. He was 2 speeding penalties away from being a 2-time winner of the Brickyard 400. And I think becoming the only driver to win both the Indy 500 and the Brickyard 400. Maybe Brad Keselowski, who hasn't won in a while. We'll see what happens with him. Austin Cindric, Carson Hocevar. Carson Hocevar could really do with a feather in his cap. And if he can stay out of trouble, not hit anybody, which he did last week, to win at a crown jewel would be big for him. We are back on the oval, so this race is back to its crown jewel status, in my opinion. And seeing stock cars go around that hollowed yard of bricks, I cannot wait for this Sunday. So that will do it for this edition of Apex to Asphalt. As far as my driver of the weekend, I'm going to have to go for the low-hanging fruit. I'm going to go with Alex Palou. He is inevitable. And I think he's on his way to get another IndyCar championship. Just like he's inevitable, this show is inevitable. And we will be back next Monday for more racing action. Chris will be back with me next week. Thank you for listening to this edition of the Apex to Asphalt. This is Darryl Kinsey Jr. See you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.